Hi, this is Johnny L, and welcome to a short video on the first pillar of wisdom, which has to do with changing your reality. If you can change your reality, it gives you a lot of power to be able to shape your life more to your liking. To begin with, though, let's just point out that there are many paths to wisdom. This is just one approach. If it works for you, go ahead and use it, and if it doesn't, just leave it behind. So let's dive in. Your mom probably used to tell you, watch your language. And there was a lot of wisdom in this that you and I completely ignored. Because the language that you use determines to a fair extent your experience of life. Your subjective reality, the way that you see things, is determined to a large extent by the way that you language your life. So let's use the example of losing our job, an experience we've all had, or we know people have had that experience. So just put yourself in the place of you've just lost your job. Losing a job is a problem, right? If we lose our job, it's a big, huge problem. We might run out of money, we might get evicted, might not be able to pay our bills, our whole life might go down the drain. We've got a big problem, and this determines our subjective experience of the circumstance of losing our job. Because when it's a big problem, we will worry ourselves sick. We'll have trouble sleeping. We may even have panic attacks. We can hardly think of anything else. Life will seem so unfair. Why did they let me go? We'll feel alone, and we'll probably feel like the world is against us. Why me? This is what comes from having a problem, right? And losing our job is clearly a big problem. But what if it isn't? What if we use different language to describe the exact same circumstance, which is that we don't have a job? And if we use different language, it will change the way that we look at the exact same circumstance. How you talk to yourself can determine your experience. So what if we label the circumstance of losing our job as a challenge instead of a problem? What happens then? Instead of a big problem to feel upset about and lose sleep over, we can start to consider losing our job as a challenge. Inside, subjectively, in our sense of reality, we can start to relate to it differently. I have a challenge in my life of finding a new job. Where should I start? What do I want to improve on from my old job? I've met other challenges in my life. How best can I meet this one? When you label a circumstance as a challenge instead of a problem, it starts to shift the way that you feel about it. Beyond that, what if we label the same circumstance, I don't have a job, as an opportunity instead of a problem? Well, that's a whole different thing. Because if losing your job is an opportunity, then you're going to start to feel differently about the exact same circumstance. It is the same circumstance. You don't have a job, but you have a whole different experience when you're looking at that circumstance as an opportunity instead of a problem. Just by calling the same situation an opportunity or challenge instead of a problem, we inside tend to feel differently, which causes us to act differently. We will gather resources. We'll panic much less. We'll worry less about how unfair life is. And we'll begin to focus on resolutions. Just by calling the same circumstance of not having a job an opportunity. Sure, we may still lose sleep here and there and feel bad at times, but overall, describing losing a job as an opportunity changes how we feel And that changes how we react inside and outside. We'll have more energy. Now, what if we labeled the same circumstance as an adventure? Well, if losing our job is an adventure, we may actually start to feel a bit excited. Oh my gosh, new start time. Where do I want to work next? What if I started my own company? How can I jump to an even better job or a bigger paycheck? When it's an adventure, finding a new job or finding more income, it opens up all kinds of possibilities for us. Inside, we feel some excitement, some interest, maybe even a little enthusiasm. Instead of waking up with this big problem, oh man, the world's against me and no one loves me and this is all so unfair, we wake up like, wow, I get to create new income. Wonder what I should do. What's going to be the best way to do that? You can actually wake up with the same set of circumstances with enthusiasm instead of depression. You know, it's just something that the labels we use have a big impact on our internal experience. If we say that X is a problem, or X is a challenge, or X is an opportunity, or X is an adventure, it changes the actions that we take externally. Because if you wake up depressed from having this big problem of not having a job, you're going to probably take the first job you can find, or you're going to pray that you get, some minimum wage job or something. But if you take not having a job as an adventure or an opportunity, then you're going to maybe look at starting your own company or going after an even bigger job. How we label things inside shifts our sense of reality, which shifts the actions that we're going to take externally. Very powerful thing to understand. You get to say, with problems, we bring a lot of internal worry and fear and upset and complaint to them. That's what comes with problem. With challenges, we're a bit more clear-headed. And we might go get some coaching. We might be more open to other approaches. With adventures and opportunities, we tend to be more excited, enthusiastic, and positive. Here's some wisdom work for you to try right now. Pick your biggest problem. Consider it as a challenge for a moment. Wow, my lover and I have been fighting the last 3 weeks. It seems like our relationship is a challenge right now. So what about this challenge can you control? What steps can you take to meet it? What resources do you have to tackle it? Maybe you'll have to go and take a class or go get some counseling. But there are resources to help you meet your challenges. Now, try on that same set of circumstances as an opportunity or adventure. And the example I'm using is your relationship is having some difficulties. So what about a relationship having difficulties can be an adventure? What about it can be exciting? Can it actually be exciting? Can you be enthusiastic about a relationship that is facing difficulties? You can. Wow. How much fun and energy can you bring to completing this adventure, to getting onto the other side, to improving your relationship? Well, if it's an adventure to improve your relationship, then you'll probably figure out some fun ways to do that. How can you step into the opportunity of creating more intimacy? Any set of circumstances you can label an adventure, and then you'll go after it differently. Because your language shapes your experience of your reality. Start to notice what language disempowers you and begin to play with using more empowering language. Practice this with a problem every day, and you will start to rewire your brain to a place where it's going to automatically move away from these big, burdensome, heavy problems and start to look at the circumstances and situations in your life as challenges and opportunities. You can learn to choose your language. Otherwise, by default, you'll be stuck with language like problem, bad, wrong, and failure. Language like bad, failure, wrong, lonely can actually tend to shape our lives. Is divorce or bankruptcy bad or a failure? Or is it a learning experience? Is it a growth opportunity? Is it a new future? You get to say. This is just an introduction to changing your own internal reality by watching your language. There is much more to this. There's a whole field of psychology, philosophy called general semantics. There's another field called linguistics, which is about how language shapes our life. And then there's positive psychology, where you find we attach a lot of meaning and experience to our language. The takeaway here is you have a lot of say about your experience, about your internal reality. And if you want more wise reading about this, look up the book Reality Isn't What It Used to Be by Walter Anderson, and or Trances People Live by Stephen Walensky. There's a lot more that you can learn about the power you have to change your reality. But this is a great start. Thanks very much. See you in the next video.